Landing.
Well, flying a drone in a house, not exactly safe. Let's talk about that today, guys. Let's get into it. Drone safety. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're going to be talking about drone safety. This is a little bit more of an instructional video, and if this is not your cup of tea and it's a little too boring, and if you're not into drones, go check out some of my other videos, like our adventures that we just recently did. We just recently went to the Ohio Renaissance Festival, and we went to a county fair, the Brown County Fair, located in Georgetown, Ohio, which they all consider the Little State Fair. It was a good time. Go check it out, guys. All right, without further ado, let's get into this, because there's been some controversies, especially with these types of drones lately, and I just kind of want to clear the air for anybody who's not familiar with drones. All right, guys. Well, the number one reason why I want to talk about this is a couple weeks ago, there was an incident. I'm just going to go ahead and get into the meat and potatoes here. There was an incident at the Brown County Fair where somebody was actually flying a drone right above where the tractor pulls were. I can't confirm or deny whether they were flying above people or anything like that, or to get real technical, the weight class of that drone, and I can't really even confirm where they flew it from. So that being said, that individual apparently got talked to by either a deputy or a police officer, whoever. I can't even really confirm that, but from what the Facebook post looked like, they found the guy. Why is that such a big deal? Well, again, there's many different reasons why you don't want to fly above people, things of that sort, because, you know, just like any kind of machine, guys, they fail. Machines fail. It's just a way of life. Now, the particular drones that I use are DJI drones. Very reliable drones. I can almost swear by them, and they have a ton of safety features that prevent them from doing such things, like flying away, or if they lose connection, do they drop out of the sky? Like, there's all kinds of things that prevent these drones from catastrophically causing an issue. Now, I bet you're all wondering why I'm talking about this certain individual, why he got in trouble for flying above tractor pulls and all this other stuff. Well, there was a couple things that this individual, from what I understand, did wrong. One, he took off with inside of the fairgrounds, which at the time, the Brown County Fair did state, don't fly any drones from the fairgrounds. So basically inside the fairgrounds. They can't control what's outside the fairgrounds. So if you fly this thing from outside of the fairgrounds on private property, and you can still see it from a distance away, and you're flying above everybody, they really can't control the airway. Only the FAA can. That being said, I think that's what probably got the guy in trouble. Can't confirm or deny that. Don't know the whole story. Now, where did I come into play with this whole issue? let's discuss that. Now, if anybody's seen my new video that just recently came out about the Brown County Fair, I got some great footage of this fair from the air. Now, there was a lot of things that I did ahead of time to make sure that I was in the right and I was following the rules and I was being as safe as possible. And these are some of the things that you should do as well, especially if you're just getting a photo for the heck of it, you're a vlogger, or if you're flying these things commercially. And this is kind of a hot topic for me because one of the things that I'm trying to explore is getting my Part 107, which in the United States is essentially your license to fly a drone commercially. If you want to make money, then you got to get your Part 107. If you want to fly these things for fun, then you don't need your Part 107. But that being said, you still want to be able to just study up on a little bit of some of the rules and regulations and laws, especially some of your local laws when it comes to these things. That way you don't tick anybody off when you're flying it in the air. All right, so to the meat and potatoes. The reason why I'm discussing this is because one of the things that got brought up in a Facebook group was that this individual was flying their drone above the tractor poles. They literally had to stop the whole entire tractor poles to find this individual. And apparently my name got brought up. Well, thankfully, I did my research and I was able to go ahead of time, did everything safely, and the people that were ahead of this Facebook page pretty much said, hey, it's not this guy, we know it's not him, we already checked into that. And the reason why that is because there was a couple things that I did. I didn't necessarily have to do these things, but it definitely covered my butt in the end. One thing I did was that I got with law enforcement and I made them aware of some of my flight patterns that I was going to do. One of the other things that I did was that I did it obviously when it was nice, clear, weather was great and good, and I did it ahead of time. So, spoiler alert, some of the videos that you may see from the fairgrounds may be from either a night or two before we went. And that's just a little bit of movie magic that I do. That way I'm able to enjoy the time that I have with my family and not be in a huge rush to go and fly this drone at the same time. And it gives me time to orchestrate with the organizations and the police or security, whoever's in charge of it, and let them know what I'm doing ahead of time. And sometimes, guys, here's a little pro tip. If you're going to be doing these types of things, and if you're lucky enough to get law enforcement involved, maybe have one of them with you while you're flying. That way, if something like this occurs, like somebody says, hey, this guy was flying a drone, I know who it is, then you can also get with your local law enforcement, and the officer that was with you could be like, no, that's not true. I seen the drone, I seen where he was flying it, I was with him the entire time. That's something that you could do as well. So I was able to get with local law enforcement. I already had a pre-planned flight plan ahead of time. And a lot of times, guys, with these drones, especially with DJI, they will log your flight patterns. So if anybody has an issue about where you flew this drone, it's very, very easy to bring up where you flew the drone. So I hate to bring up the name, but let's just say a Karen says, hey, you were flying over my house. Well, if you know that's not true, guess what? Be like, all right, Karen, check it out. And you could show them the flight patterns. Now, most high-end drones are capable of doing these things. Not just DJI. There's other drone companies like Hotel that are capable of doing this as well. But this is one drone company that I could swear will record your flight patterns. That way, if there's any questions from law enforcement or your local Karen, you can show them exactly where you're flying. So I was pretty much covered at that point. I covered all my bases. I even wore a reflective vest that night to make sure that I didn't get ran over by any cars. I already went by the fairgrounds to make sure where there would be a good place to launch the drone and land the drone safely without any other concern of any pedestrians being in my way. I had law enforcement with me. I already let everybody know ahead of time. And most importantly, I didn't fly over anybody that would be of any concern. Because anytime, guys, that you fly over a mass amount of people, which is obviously a big no-no, and it's one of the things that you'll learn, especially if those people that are going to go learn their Part 107, flying over people is a big no-no. All right, so with that being said, let's talk about the drones that I have. Since we're on the topic of flying over people, these two drones that I have in front of me, we have the DJI Mini SE2 and we have the DJI Mini 4 Pro. Both these drones are considered sub 250 grams, which is about a half a pound. Now, that being said, these drones have less restrictions of other drones that will weigh over a half a pound, such as these drones. These drones, there's a lot of technicalities. I'm not going to get into the whole technicalities of what these drones can and can't do, but one of the biggest things is that you can fly over people. Now, you can't hover over them, but you can fly over them safely without getting into a huge amount of trouble, because the FAA has deemed these drones safe enough to where you can do such things like that. There's other stuff that you have to do as well. You also have to get your Part 107, so on and so forth. But regardless of the fact, whether you've got waivers, whether you've got your Part 107, whether you have the lightest drone known to mankind, I would highly recommend anybody, especially those who are brand new to the hobby, do not fly these over people. It's just more or less, it's not even so much just safety, it's a common courtesy. One of the things that I did, especially at the Brown County Fair, was that I made sure that I went around the crowd because I wanted to make sure that this drone was nowhere near where if it were to somehow get struck by, let's just say, a bird, and it went straight down, it wasn't going to hit anybody on the head. That's not going to cause a whole lot of damage with it being less than a half a pound. But regardless of the fact, if you're going to fly these things, if you're thinking about getting a drone, whether it's a sub 250 gram drone or something that's heavier, just do yourself a favor and do others a favor. If necessary, try to just stay away from people, especially a mass amount of people. So let's talk a little bit about some of the stigmas that these drones get from a lot of people. One of the biggest things that a lot of people have a problem with drones is that they always just think that anybody who owns a drone is spying on them. Like they're just the attention, or like they're the center of attention. Now, in my current career right now, I can tell you right now, just about any time there is a conspiracy theory, whether it's a drone or somebody walking around with a camera, video recording themselves, doesn't matter. Like they always think it's because of them. Anybody and everybody who thinks that someone's doing something weird, they always think it has something to do with themselves. It's just human nature. Everybody's gonna think that if you're flying one of these things, you're probably recording them. When in reality, you're just probably trying to get a cool sunset or video record a really cool statue or building, or if you have your Part 107 and you got a commercial license, you're just trying to get some land survey or take a picture of a roof that might have some damaged shingles. Just keep that in mind. And there's a couple things that you could do to try to prevent people from thinking that you're just out there being Mr. Spy. Now, me personally, I have never ran across a Karen. I've never had anybody come run up to me and say, hey, what are you doing with that drone? Like, stop it. I've never had that happen to me personally. Now, I can tell you that there's a lot of YouTube channels out there, a lot of YouTubers out there as well that have encountered such things. And there's a couple things that you can prevent or can do to prevent such actions. One of which is just try to make yourself not as noticeable. Like if you're standing out in the middle of the open with a drone flying around you and you got a like remote in your hand, most of the time people's curiosity will get the best of them and they'll just walk up to you and they'll start asking you typical drone questions. How fast can that thing go? How high can that thing go? Blah, 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 blah. Now, typically I am not the type of guy that's gonna shoo somebody away. I'll try to answer as many questions as I can, but at the same time, I'm trying to keep my concentration not only on my line of sight of the drone, because anybody who's gonna go get your Part 107, make sure that you can see the drone still in the sky. That's basically what your line of sight is, and seeing everything, all your settings, and so on and so forth, what's going on your remote as well. Another thing you can do to try to prevent people from like basically just going bonkers whenever you're flying one of these things is just try to dress professionally whenever you go out. A lot of times, especially if I'm near a roadway or whatnot, maybe I might wear a traffic vest, and that way, you know, it makes me look a little bit more official. People aren't going to ask a lot of questions. There's a lot of videos out there, guys, where if somebody's walking into a building with a ladder, nobody asks any questions because they just assume that that person's there for official business. Now, I'm not saying trick anybody into things, but a lot of people tend to think that you're there for a purpose if you're dressed for the occasion. So that's something that you can do. But, you know, if you're just out there to get just a quick video, one of the other things you can do is kind of just scope out the area, observe your surroundings. That way you kind of know where all the obstacles are. Get out of the car, park safely, bust the drone out, get your shot as quickly and safely as possible, land it, throw it in the car, and just go. The quicker you get the shot, the better. Now, I'm not saying, you know, be super hectic about it and like get yourself all wound up thinking like, oh no, I got to get the shot as quick as possible. Just take your time, get familiar with the area, and then when you're ready, go out to that area, get the footage that you want, and call it a day. And before you know it, whatever shot you got will probably take less than 5 minutes. From the moment that you get the drone off the ground to the moment that you get the shot that you want to the moment that you actually land it and throw it in the car, probably won't take any longer than 5 minutes. First and foremost, if you get a drone and you're new to it, go and fly it. Go find an open space like a field, a park, so on and so forth, and just get used to it. Get used to the basic controls of how a drone works. Now, the controller I have here, this basically just uses your phone as a screen, and get used to doing one of two things. One, controlling the drone while on the screen. Almost like playing a video game, if you will. Two, get used to flying the drone without using the screen. And then 3, get used to using the drone by utilizing both the screen and visuals at the same time. That way, you'll know exactly where the drone is to where you are standing and what you're seeing on the screen as well. Because a lot of times, what people will do is they'll put this screen in front of their face and they don't know what's behind, to the side, or above the drone. And yes, I am talking most particularly about birds. Birds and trees are usually the biggest obstacles and biggest enemies when it comes to these drones. So obviously, not being able to see where your drone is and see what those obstacles that potentially are surrounding your drone could be an issue. So again, go to an open, wide field and just get used to flying the drone. And then you can do some more of the technical things like flying closer to objects, or doing more technical things like turning and banking and going up and down at a certain speed or whatnot. And it will get you a heck of a lot more skilled at flying a drone, especially if you don't have a drone that has obstacle avoidance. When I started out flying a drone, the SC here doesn't have any obstacle avoidance. The only obstacle avoidance this remotely has is on the bottom, and that's more or less used to help it landing whenever you're taking the drone and landing it on something or whatever. But the new drone that I have, the Mini 4 Pro, has 360 obstacle avoidance. This thing can pretty much dodge just about anything that you throw at it. There's all kinds of videos out there, guys, about how great this drone is. There's a newer version now called the Mini 5 Pro, but anybody who's looking to get a little bit cheaper, and if you're able to get a hold of one of these, I highly recommend it. I've had it for a few months now, and this thing is absolutely a beast. Like I said, get used to the controls, get used to flying a drone. Once you're more used to it, then start doing more complicated things. One of the biggest things that is one of the most scariest things that when it comes to new drone owners is flying over water. I can tell you right now, firsthand, how scary that is as a first-time drone owner flying over a big body of water can be. Because the sensors on the bottom of these drones aren't exactly 110% reliable. And that's something that you're going to have to keep in mind. So if you're flying over a body of water, and let's just say that you become skilled enough to where you can control the drone enough to fly it from point A to point B safely, and you want to start experimenting in some of your videography over the water, I would highly recommend you wouldn't fly this thing no more than at least 15 feet above the water. The reason why I say that is because the sensors will sometimes get confused, especially on a shiny surface, and I've seen it happen with my drone. It will sometimes look like it is descending towards the water. Now you can quickly fix this as long as you just get the joystick and shoot it back up again. Sometimes it might be a little too late for some people, and the drone will just get totally lost. Once this thing hits a body of water, it's done. Unless it's completely waterproof, the drone is done. It's sinking. It's going down to the bottom of the water. You might as well just kiss your drone goodbye. So, that being said, if you're skilled, and once you get your controls fixed, and you're able to get from point A to point B safely, and you want to try to fly this thing over water, I would highly recommend you not fly it any higher, or any lower than maybe 15 feet from the water. I would even go as far as even maybe flying it about 20 feet above the water, just for good safe measure. All right, so you got your controls down, you're able to fly over water comfortably. Now, one of the other things that I would highly recommend you do is drone maintenance. This should have been like number one, but drone maintenance. Absolutely make sure that all of these little tiny screws for your propellers are at least hand tight before any and every flight. Most people will tell you, do it at least every 2 or 3 flights. I do it every flight. Anytime I'm about to throw this thing up in the air and let it fly, I check to make sure that the screws are at least hand tight. I don't torque it down every single time. I just kind of give it a little check on each one of the screws. Just a quick little check to make sure that it feels tight. And that way I know that, these propellers aren't coming off. Now, a lot of these drones, especially DJI, I can confirm, the screws will come with what's called Loctite. And it's basically just this little blue goo that makes sure that the screw itself is locked into the drone and it's not as easy to come out. Because these things, when they fly, I mean, like, the propellers are moving so fast that there's a lot of movement going on, and there's a lot of potential for the propellers to fly off. So always making sure that your propellers are on there nice and tight always helps you out, and it gives you a little bit of peace of mind before you launch it. Another thing you want to do after you check all your propellers, you want to make sure that your battery life is good. Easy way to do it, especially with these drones, is push it right there. As you see, I'm a little less than 50%. There's 4 little dots that usually show up on these to tell you, 25, 50, 75, 100. Especially if you're going to fly these things at a long distance, especially over water, you want to make sure that you have a good battery. So make sure all of your batteries are nice and charged up, especially if you're, like I said before, if you're flying over water. Because if you're flying over a large body of water, there's one thing that you have to take in mind, and is, are you flying back towards the wind, or are you flying against the wind? Because if you're flying against the wind, then the wind's going to carry you back to your home destination. But if you're flying towards the wind, then it's going to be even harder for your drone to come back to you, and it's going to use up more energy. So always make sure your battery is charged to a proper level before you throw this thing in the air and go any kind of distance. All right, let's talk about extra equipment that you can have with the drones to make it safe. Now, a lot of drone enthusiasts out there might say that I'm a little bit of a novice for still using one of these. But 90% of my launches are going to be on one of these. A landing pad. It's foldable. You can find them on Amazon, really cheap, 10, 15 bucks. It'll get the job done. Why are these important? Well, whenever I'm trying to find myself, as you can see, these are nice bright colors, especially the blue side. I don't know if you guys noticed or not, but the blue side especially is used for night. These little markers right here are reflective, and especially for the more higher end drones like the DJI Mini 4 Pro, there's a light that'll emit once it gets down low enough, and it'll be able to see exactly where this landing pad is. The bright colors will help the drone find its way back home a heck of a lot faster. And in the long run, honestly, being able to have something bright and distinctive to find it, let's just say that you lose sight of the drone because you're looking down at the remote, you're looking up at the drone, you're looking down at the remote. It's a lot easier to lose the drone, especially at night, during the day than it is at night. Well, if you lose the drone, and you lose sight of the drone, and you just so happen to look on your screen, which helps you, and you see a nice bright orange landing pad, you kind of just estimate exactly where that drone would be, kind of looking offset, and you'll be able to see where that drone is just based on your estimate of seeing where the bright colored is, or more or less a reference point, and where the drone should be. Helps you. Plus, it'll help you in rough terrain. If you're launching this thing off of sand or dirt, I highly recommend that you use a landing pad. Why? Because as soon as sand gets in any of these gears or these motors, your drone is cooked. It's not going to work as properly as it did when you got it out of the box. It may not even work at all. So make sure if you're launching the drone off of rough terrain, like grass or mud, dirt, sand, whatever, rocks, use a landing pad. It's a nice smooth surface, and again guys, it gives you the drone and yourself a reference point of where this thing needs to land. Plus, it gives you a little bit of ease of mind knowing that it's going to be landing on something nice and safe. Another thing that you can get for the drone, super cheap, you can find any one of these anywhere on Amazon. If you're planning on flying these at night, which I highly recommend, you wouldn't do this unless you're experienced or you have your Part 107, a light. These things are pretty bright. I'm gonna turn it on. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. You probably can. This one in particular, especially has these little strobes. Pretty bright to my eyes. As long as this is bright enough to see at least 3 miles away, this will help your drone. And it's honestly, it's not a recommendation or a suggestion. The FAA tells you can't fly your drone at night unless you have one of these. That way you can at least see this thing 3 miles away and you have still line of sight with your drone. As long as you have one of these guys, I'm gonna tell you right now, it's a heck of a lot easier flying your drone at night, or at least keeping an eye on it, than it is in the day. Especially with these gray drones, it's pretty easy to lose track of where your drone is in the sky. But if you have one of these bright lights, it's so much easier to keep track of your drone in the sky. So, I think I don't even think I spent maybe 15 bucks on this light alone. It came with little Velcro pieces, as you guys can see. Just Velcro it to the top of the drone. It's two-sided tape. And guys, the tape and the Velcro stays on there nice and tight. You don't have to worry about it falling off. So, as long as the manufacturer also says that you can see these lights from 3 miles away, then you should be fine. If it doesn't, then I would move on, find a light that does specifically say that these lights are capable of being seen 3 miles away. It's going to help you in case, for some reason, an FAA agent wants to talk to you about it. So, we've gone over all kinds of stuff, guys. We've gone over equipment that you can buy for your drone. We've gone over the safety features of the drone. We've gone over some of the things that you can do, like basically pre-flight checks, like your propellers, your battery, and everything else before you take off. We've gone over what you could do to try to prevent a Karen from like wagging their finger at you whenever you're flying your drone. One of the other important things that you can do, especially those who are vloggers, YouTubers, or just family, just trying to get a really cool photo of your vacation spot, just ask ahead of time if you can fly where you can. If you're on a public beach or whatever, or a public area, there might be some discrepancies of where you can and can't fly. Now, we can get into the real technical terms and, get into aerial maps and stuff like that of where it shows where you can and can't fly. But if you're in an area where you just think you can ask for permission, just do so. I'll give you a great example. Now, we went to a vacation to Cedar Point this year, and Cedar Point is an absolute beautiful destination. It's got a beautiful hotel called the Breakers Hotel, and it's located right off the beach. And I wanted to try to get some visuals of this beautiful hotel and this amusement park using my drone. Now, I also didn't want to violate any kind of FAA rules, and I didn't want to basically tick off Cedar Point while doing so. So, I did some research, and what Google or the aerial maps was telling me at the time was kind of conflicted of what I can and can't do. Especially Cedar Point's policy saying, hey, you can't launch drones on Cedar Point property. And obviously I don't own a boat, so I can't just go fly it, or excuse me, drive a boat out into the water and then launch the drone and then take a look at Cedar Point. So what I did is, as soon as we checked in, I asked one of the hotel managers if I was capable of doing so, as long as I don't fly over the park. Because obviously that would be a big no-no, because I'm flying over a massive amount of people. There's a massive amount of obstacles to avoid, and the fact that one of the roller coasters at Cedar Point is over 400 feet tall, which, one of the things that I want to mention, if you have a drone, you can't fly over 400 feet. Now you can fly 400 feet above that object, but you're still flying over a massive amount of people. It's just not safe. It's not a good idea. Don't do it. Whether it's in season, out of season, whatever, just don't do it. I just wanted to fly my drone from the beach outwards and maybe around the perimeter of the actual peninsula. Now, what the manager did for me was basically tell me that it's a public beach and he can't really say what I can and can't do as far as flying the drone off of the public beach. Still technically Cedar Point, but Cedar Point's beach is a public beach, so the rules are different. Now obviously if I flew it with inside, like if I launched it from within inside the park, I'd get in a massive amount of trouble. But if I flew it off the beach and didn't fly it over people, I was okay. He was completely cool with that, as long as obviously I didn't just fly it up to someone's hotel room or fly it over Cedar Point itself, it'd be an issue. So guys, asking permission goes a heck of a long way. And it saved me a bunch of trouble, and it made me feel really relieved to know that, hey, if I got in any trouble, I could just refer to this manager and he said, hey, he gave me permission to basically launch it from the beach and just fly out towards the water and get some really awesome footage of Cedar Point. So guys, if you're worried about whether you're going to cause a stink if you fly a drone anywhere, just ask. It won't hurt you, it won't hurt anybody. The worst somebody can say is no, and then, oh darn, I didn't get that footage. I asked, worked out for me. I got some beautiful footage of Cedar Point. Go check out some of my Cedar Point videos while we were on vacation. It's absolutely awesome. All right, guys, well, that pretty much wraps it up for this video. There was a lot of stuff that I covered in here, and I know this wasn't exactly the most exhilarating video that I ever did. And, you know, if you could take anything from this video, just remember just these few things. If you're going to be flying a drone for whatever reason that you might need it for, check the equipment, check the software. Make sure that's all on the up and up before you go off and fly it. After you do all that stuff, if it's your first time having a drone, find an open space, fly it, practice with it. Practice flying it with the screen, and most importantly, try to fly it without the screen. That way you can get used to the controls. If you take this drone on vacation or whatever, and you want to fly it somewhere that you're not particularly sure whether you can and can't fly it there, just ask. It doesn't hurt, and at the end of the day, it may even help you in the long run, because whoever you asked may be like, hey, you know what, that guy was pretty cool. He asked me before he went off and just flew his drone wherever he wanted to. And of course, just, you know, follow your basic laws, and especially your local laws when it comes to flying these things. It just comes down to a lot of common sense, guys. Like, for example, if you're driving your car, obviously you don't want to drink and drive, right? Because it's against the law. Well, the FAA considers these aircraft, whether they're aircraft or just a toy, you don't want to be flying these freaking things while under the influence, because it could probably not only maybe possibly hurt yourself, but hurt and harm other people as well. So, common sense says, don't drink and drone. Don't drink and drive. Right? Goes 2 and 2. And obviously, guys, you know, when it comes to other things as well, like I said in the beginning of the video, just do things out of common courtesy, whether you're in compliance or not. Like, for example, flying over people. If you can avoid flying over people, just do it. You know, unless you absolutely have to. For example, like if you lose signal with your remote and the thing's coming back to you, you can transverse over people perfectly fine and safely and within the law. It's just, it becomes an issue whenever you're hovering over people because, you know, I can imagine that could be pretty irritating, knowing that here's this object just hovering over top me. Just avoid it. Whether this thing is sub 250 grams or you got your part 107, whatever the case is, just try to avoid it. So, guys, I hope this video was pretty helpful. It was pretty long, it was pretty drawn out. But, you know, for those who are thinking about getting drones for whatever reason, whether they, like I said, like whether they want to just take a personal video or to help them with their vlog, these are just some basic things of the do's and don'ts when it comes to drones. Just a quick reminder as well, at the end of the month, remember guys, we're going to be doing a video of us staying at the Great Wolf Lodge and going to the Halloween haunt at Kings Island for a whole entire weekend. That should be pretty exciting. We're going to get to see how that all works out when Kings Island is literally right next door to Great Wolf Lodge. There could be other, and after that too, guys, we're going to be doing other stuff as well for the holiday weekends. For example, I don't know if you see all these totes behind us. Well, we put up a lot of Christmas lights, so that'll be fun. And we got a Christmas village that I did a lot of 3D printing and stuff for. That's going to be pretty cool. Show you how all that works. That's coming up soon as well. Plus some of our Christmas events as well. So stay tuned for all that, guys. So I hope you like, I hope you subscribe, and until next time, keep chasing your dreams.